My name is Lauren Rubash. I am a ninth grade world history teacher at Gateway High School. So today I'm going to be sharing with you how I use G Suites, Google Classroom, all of that to kind of create my organized and engaging virtual learning experience. So like I said, Gateway High School, ninth grade, world history. Just fun fact, prior to this, I was living in Virginia teaching for 3 years, and I was teaching English. So I kind of have that English social studies kind of mix going on in my classroom this year as well. As far as virtual learning goes, when we switch over to virtual learning, we are using Google Classroom. And we're using asynchronous learning, meaning our kids can log on at any time during the day when they choose to work and get our work done. We also had the option whether we wanted to post assignments daily or weekly. I chose weekly for my major assignments, and then we'll kind of get into some stuff that I post daily as well. So setting expectations, the first thing I wanted to do is kind of figure out, like, what is my plan going to be going forward? Because if I just went into this kind of posting whatever, whenever, it wouldn't really be organized, I feel like, for my kids. And I feel like having that routine and that kind of expectations, just as we did in our physical classrooms, is also important in our virtual classrooms as well. So, oh, am I good? Okay, yeah, sorry. So figuring out what that plan would look like, making sure I can communicate to parents and to students, the due dates, the assignments, all those important things, and how I would kind of organize my Google Classroom. Because I don't know if anybody else is like me, but I feel like during the year, my Google Classroom got a little crazy. Maybe not as organized as I would like it to be, because I was kind of using it together with my in-person lecture and activities as well. So I actually created, and I'll show you what it looks like, created this expectations sheet. And I just made this in PowerPoint or Google Slides, whatever you want to use. But I basically wanted to send this out before we started. This is how, we're going to do things in Google Classroom. This is what it looks like. This is what I'm expecting from you. So how do I get it accounted for attendance? What does that look like? Check-in questions, daily questions. These are their assignments, what those will kind of look like. They were getting outlines and Hyperdocs, which I'll talk about in a minute. Due dates, everything is due by 11:59. Their quizzes, when will that happen? Office hours, we didn't have to do office hours, but I thought maybe it would be a good idea to try to do those. And then the second page was just helpful links and tips for both parents and students. So links to the textbook, our online textbook, and a kind of Google Slides tips and tricks that I made for my students and my parents to hopefully try to eliminate some of those emails and questions that I would probably be getting on a daily basis if I hadn't done that. So that was one thing that I created for that. Make this bigger again. And then actually going in and using Google Classroom. So in order to make everything organized for me, this is what 1 week would look like for my students. So this is week 3. This is from April. I try to make a new topic for each week. And in that week, I started numbering the weeks. That way it was kind of easy to keep track of what week are we on, what are we working on. Also, the dates were on there, what week, and actually the chapter and the section that we were working on. We did one section a week for each chapter. Luckily, that last Friday of regular school, as I call it, we took a test. So it was super easy for me to kind of jump into virtual learning because I knew that I could just start all over again and start a new chapter, which was a bonus for me. So we worked through one section each chapter. They just finished chapter 8 last week. So this is what it would look like. I would post a weekly agenda for them, which I will show you what that looks like. I would post their outlines, their Hyperdocs, their daily check-in questions, and their quiz. And I would kind of try to keep the assignments the same every week, obviously changing the content as we went through the chapter. I also love to use the emoji extension from Google Chrome Web Store. I added the links on here. You guys will have access to this presentation. I added it for links for you guys later. So you guys can kind of play around with it. So I put those links there if you want to check them out. But that's what you see on the sides of all the assignments down the side there, the little question marks and the little computer and the little calendar, things like that. I use those same emojis every week. That way my kids can kind of easily find things as they're scrolling through Google Classroom. The other thing you can do in Google Classroom is drag and drop the assignments into the order that you want. So you just kind of click and hold down on the assignment and slide it up and down, whichever way you want to go. And that way, when you're posting things, it always wants to post to the top of that topic. But I try to keep mine in the same order every week. Their assignments on top, their daily questions at the bottom, so that I know when they scroll past those assignments to the daily question, I'm like, you saw that assignment. I know you saw it. So hopefully we can get that done. And then I use my Bitmoji. You'll see it in this presentation as I go through it. I love using my little Bitmoji because they can't see me in person all the time, but I kind of use that to kind of at least get my personality in there a little bit for them as well. And that's just another extension that you can use through the Google Chrome Web Store. So this is their weekly agenda that they see. I created this in PowerPoint. You could create one in Google Slides. I just saved it as a PDF, and I uploaded this actually to Google Classroom every week, but I also put it out on Skyward, which is our gradebook. There's like a messenger system through there that you can push out, and I can send it as an email to all the parents and all the students so that everybody's on the same page, everybody knows what to expect. So I put their to-do list kind of every week, check-in questions, their different assignments, when they're due, again, posting those due dates everywhere. Has kind of been one of the things that I'll talk about, but definitely something I've learned. And then on the right side there, I have different announcements, different things that I want to share with the kids, with parents, when grades will be going in, just little friendly reminders. And then I added helpful links. So again, that Google Slides tips and tricks slideshow is in there. Another link to the online textbook is there if they need it. And I switch out those links depending on which section we're working on. That way it's specific to them for the week. So that was just something easy that, I mean, mine's a little bit extra. I tend to overdo things, but you could create something simple like this to just post every week. That way it just kind of keeps everybody on the same page. So some of the assignments that I post in Google Classroom, one is their outline. Now, this is something that's familiar to them from regular school. I thought that this would be kind of an easy transition for them, something they already know how to do. They already know the directions. They're just typing instead of writing now. So I post the due dates in the actual title of the assignment. That way they see it there. They also see it on the actual due date that I clicked on and chose in Google Classroom. So I post the document there, and I make sure that I make a copy for each student. That way they're all getting their own copy. They can fill it out right there in Google Classroom. If you guys have questions about how to do all of those things, if you haven't done them that way, I can always answer those at the end too. But I also post another link to the online textbook. And again, posting those due dates as much as possible is definitely been helpful for me. So this was something that's super easy for them because they're already familiar with it. That was my number one goal. How can I kind of at least start this new journey off on something that they're familiar with? The second weekly assignment that they have is what we call Hyperdocs. If you never heard of a Hyperdoc, it's basically for Google, it's a Google slideshow, and it has all sorts of links and videos and interactive parts and pieces for students to complete. And it's kind of like a one-stop shop for them. I do the outline and then they get the Hyperdoc. So the Hyperdoc allows me to hit on those major points that I want to hit on in the chapter, those major topics. It allows for enrichment or reinforcement depending on the group of students that you're teaching. If you want to enrich them, you can add extra activities, extra information that's maybe not coming from the textbook or from your lessons. And I try to kind of use the same format each week, and I'll show you in a couple of these in a second. But this also saves me time because I'm creating a template for myself, and that way it's quicker for me to plan during lessons. Because if anybody else has been like me, I feel like I'm working now more than ever. But these Hyperdocs allow you to also reach multiple types of learners. I have kids that are more auditory, so they can, plug in their headphones, listen to the videos, and really absorb that information. I have kids that are more visual. I can add lots of pictures and have them find pictures and add in things. And I have kids that are more hands-on, and I know hands-on is kind of hard to do on a laptop or an iPad, but they're able to kind of drag and drop things and create things for themselves, which I feel like has been helpful. So just want to show you a couple of these. So this was for section 2 for us, on the Holy Roman Empire. So my covers kind of looked the same every week. I would just kind of change the pictures and change the colors. That way we kind of had a different color for each week. Again, the due days is on here as well. And then I created an activity board for them so they could go in and check out what are the different activities going to be doing. They can also actually click on these, and I can show you if you want later how to create a link that actually goes to another slide. Vocabulary. This was something that they had every single week. This was another kind of familiarity, can't speak this morning, for them. They used to get vocabulary for every single chapter that we got. So now I'm just kind of making it digital. So they were able to type in all of these boxes. They were reading different sections of text. I could add links to click on more. This was a timeline that they were able to drag and drop and create things. And I'll show you what some finished ones look like. They even created a fake Instagram for Frederick I here as well, and inserting photos, things of that nature. The other ones, this was their more recent one. So again, you can see it pretty much still looks the same. I'm just changing due dates, I'm changing colors, I'm changing pictures. Here's your activity board again. You still see some of the same types of things going on. They watched a video about the Black Death, which is a little bit ironic in these times. And then they were actually able to do kind of like a DBQ. It's kind of a watered down kind of preview version. I have some kids that are definitely going on to take honors next year and AP next year. So I wanted to kind of push them a little bit. We've done these Hyperdocs now for 4 weeks, 5th week I'm kind of pushing them. So I was able to take some primary source documents, allow them to kind of answer some questions along the way to analyze them. And then down even a map. Right, so you have plenty of options to kind of do these things. And then this is where they typed their response. And their response for me was just 1 paragraph, but this was kind of a way for them to kind of get some writing in there as well and bring in a little bit of that ELA. And then they can even do like cause and effect. So this is on the 100 Years of War, causes of the war, major events of the war, the effects of the war. And they would just be able to click and type right in here. And then here's another example of me reusing things. This time they're creating an Instagram post for Joan of Arc. I didn't do this every week, but it was something that I thought they did a really awesome job on. I saw some really cool Instagram posts and creations. So I decided to use this again for Joan of Arc. And then I always put this at the end because we know if we're using Google Classroom, sometimes they struggle to turn things in. So it's always like my friendly reminder, like, hey, go ahead, hit your turn in button, you're done. So that is that one. And then I'll just show you some of their completed slides real quick, just to show you what that looks like. So that was the drag and drop timeline. This is it completed. So they were able to do that. This is a complete Instagram page for Frederick I. Dragging and dropping pictures for the Pope. This was a map that they actually drag and dropped all of these pieces. And again, if you guys want to know how to make any of this stuff, I'm actually linking another presentation that I did in March before everything happened about how to actually create Hyperdocs. So you guys will have access to that as well. And if you have questions at the end of this, we can always do that too. So this is just from some of the other Hyperdocs that we did, answering questions. They would click on all of these links here. They're cutting the grass outside, so I don't know if you can hear that, but it's really loud. Okay, good. Clicking on and watching a video about medieval university, they dragged and dropped these, the first three universities. They were able to drag and drop those on the map, answer questions here. I even had them fill out a bracket about inventions in the Middle Ages and which one they thought was the most important. So they were able to click on this article, read about this article, and then fill in their bracket. I knew they liked that. This was labeling. I took a picture of the cathedral. I added these other pictures on top, and they were able to drag and drop these and put those labels in there as well. And you can always, like, I add directions on the side of the slides. So if they need help they can always do that as well. And then these were just some of the ones you guys just saw. This was one of their responses, cause and effect. So if you have more questions about Hyperdocs, I can definitely answer those today as well. But that for me, it gives them a one-stop shop. Everything is in there for them. They're able to click on all of the links. They don't have to go from window to window and back to Google Classroom and back to here. Everything is in the Hyperdocs. So I feel like it's much easier for them to kind of handle, and they could break up the days as far as how long it takes them to complete it. I always say, like, do 2 or 3 slides a day, and then by the end of the week, you'll have it done. Continuing on, something else that I do in my Google Classroom is use the question feature. The question feature has been great for me. It's allowed me to still build relationships during this time. I have about 170 students in 6 classes, so getting to know all of them throughout the year is definitely been something that has challenged me, and I've tried to kind of make those personal connections with everyone. But actually these questions have been a great way to do that. Even the most quiet students that I have that I don't always get to have, you know, that one-on-one conversation with, I've been getting to know so much about them through just asking these kind of silly questions. They're not history related. It's just a way for me to say, hey, you know, make sure you're getting on, you're getting logged in. I know you had to scroll past the assignments to get to this question, so I know you saw them. But I know that they're logging on each day, and I can kind of keep track of, I made a whole spreadsheet to kind of keep track of when they're answering their questions, when they're not. That way I can just kind of keep track of, hey, if I notice like all of a sudden this person's not logged on all week or hasn't logged on for 3 days, I can just send them a quick email and just check in on them and make sure everything's going okay. I've had kids that, you know, some are staying with, you know, mom during this week and dad during this week and only have internet maybe during one week and not the other. So I make arrangements with them that way. If I can get a hold of them and if I know what's going on and I know that they're not logging in, I know I can fix that. So these are just some of the examples that I picked from our, who knows how many questions we've already answered. We're on week 6, so at least 30 questions we're going to be answering. So I do this and that questions, I do favorite questions, different things like that. And they're super easy to come up with. Even if you go into Google like daily questions or something, you can come up with a list of things to answer. So that's my kind of bonus of all of this Google Classroom stuff. Not only am I getting them the content, but I love that I'm still finding out new things about them, and it's May. So lessons that I've learned throughout this, and I've kind of hinted on some of these throughout my presentation so far, but posting due dates and links to the online textbook, if you're using an online textbook or whatever it may be that you're using to get a lot of your content, post those dates and those links everywhere. I've kind of highlighted them in yellow on this screen. You can see that I post them everywhere, and I post them a lot. Yes, I still get emails sometimes the first couple weeks of, Mr. Rubash, I can't find the link to the textbook, or is this due on Friday? Yes, it is. Did you look here, 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 and here? So by giving them that weekly agenda, that knocks it out. Posting them on Google Classroom, I post them in the title of the assignment, and I actually pick that, you know, from the selection in the assignment page as well when I'm creating them. I post them on the Hyperdocs. Anywhere you could post them is going to be helpful. It's not going to hurt anything. Second lesson I've learned is scheduling your posts. This is my lifesaver. It saved my life. I did it Saturday for all of my stuff for this week. Their assignments were posted. Their daily agenda was posted. Their daily question for this morning was all scheduled. So when you go into your assignments, all you have to do is click that little drop-down arrow next to assign, pick schedule, and you pick the date and time that you want to schedule it. I schedule mine for 8 a.m. every morning for their daily question. And then for the week, I actually post things on Sunday just to kind of give them a head start if they want to get a head start, which actually a lot of them have taken advantage of it, which I'm surprised. If you have multiple classes, it will not let you pick all of your classes and then schedule it. You have to do one class at a time. But the way around that, so you don't have to type in all of your directions again and your title again of your assignment and attach it again, is to hit the reuse post button. So if you go under, like you're going to create an assignment, but you scroll down to reuse post, and you can pick wherever you posted it first, and then you can just pick which assignment you want to repost. It has the directions, the title already. You just have to pick the due date and pick what time you want it to schedule, and you're done. So I do that because I have 6 classes. So I do that, use that repost button a lot. It's definitely been a lifesaver. Third lesson that I've definitely learned is organization and routines are key. So like I've been talking about, trying to keep everything the same week to week. That way they know what to expect. They know what's expected of them. They know the due dates are pretty much the same for everything. They know when I'm going to post things. So they know what to expect. Just like in my physical classroom, we would have certain routines and I would have things organized a certain way, how to do things in our classroom. I wanted to bring that to the virtual classroom as well, to just kind of give them some comfort. And I've actually gotten some really good feedback from my kids that, hey, Ms. Rubash, this is great. Like all your directions are straight to the point, and we know exactly when things are due and how to do them. And we know that, how to get a hold of you if we don't, or if we get stuck. So that's definitely been a key for me. The fourth thing that I've learned that's also, I think, been life-saving probably for me and probably for my kids as well, is hiding assignments from the stream. So we know in Google Classroom, there's a stream and there's classwork. In the stream, normally everything is posted there as you're posting it. So if I post an assignment, it's showing up there. If I post an announcement, it's also showing up there. And it all kind of gets jumbled in together and it's not organized. And I would have kids that would try to scroll through the stream and try to find their assignment. And then they would email me and say, Ms. Rubash, I can't find where you posted this. Well, if you go to classwork, it's all nice and organized and it's pretty and you can find it super easy. So I actually, through all my kind of research and Googling and YouTubing Google Classroom stuff, I actually found a way to hide the assignments from the stream. So if you go into your settings in your Google Classroom page up in that right-hand corner, you click on classwork on the stream, and mine already says hide notifications, but you get 3 options. And I think normally it might say show condensed notifications. Change it to hide notifications. That way, if you look at the picture on your left hand side of your screen, those are the only things that they're seeing on their stream now. It's just my announcements. So I post reminders, I post announcements, I post little pictures of my Bitmoji to motivate them. Their due dates again, right? So those are all you see on there, and it's clean and it's streamlined, and they know that they have announcements on this side, and they know they can go to Google or go to classwork and find their actual assignments there. That way they're not in 2 places, they're just in one. And it's less confusing for them. So practical tips, again, kind of reiterating just some of my major points, and hopefully those are kind of your takeaways for today. Trying to create that routine for your students. If you're choosing to create Hyperdocs, you're going to be able to reach multiple types of learners. You could even take those activity boards that I did and you can make them choice boards if you want, and you could give them, 5 or 6 possible assignments and have them, choose 2 or choose 3 to complete for the week if you want to give them some choice. And if you do decide to use Hyperdocs, make kind of like a template for yourself. My kids had the same cover page. They always had vocabulary. They always had review questions at the end. And I was able to just copy and paste those slides and change the questions, change the vocabulary words out for me. And it saved me tons of time. That way I'm not recreating the wheel every single week. And it also gives them some familiarity as well. So it's kind of a bonus for everyone. Use the question feature on Google Classroom. Even if you do it once a week to just check in with your kids. Hey, we're, on week whatever of virtual learning. How are you doing? How are you feeling? List 3 adjectives to describe how you're feeling about virtual learning. Whatever it might be, just to kind of still build those relationships and check in with those kids. If you're doing, virtual, like Google Meets or anything like that, maybe you're only getting a handful of your kids, but if you use that question feature, more of them are probably more likely to answer those questions because they're not kind of face to face with anyone and they can kind of just answer it on their own. And the 5th thing would definitely be to schedule those posts. That's definitely a lifesaver for me. You're not getting up every morning and having to hurry and post things, especially I know a lot of people, I don't have any kids yet, but a lot of people have kids at home. They're trying to homeschool their kids as well and deal with all of their assignments and what they need to get done for the day. So if you don't have to worry about what you're posting on your Google Classroom for your kids, that's just kind of one less thing for you to do every morning. Go check it later when you have time, answer questions, answer emails, grade your work later when you have time instead of worrying about scheduling all those posts. It does take, a minute to sit down and really schedule everything out, but that's, one chunk of time versus chunks of time every day. Next steps for me, I did some Google Meet sessions. I'm sure you saw in my weekly agenda and things that I posted times for Q&A sessions with my kids on Google Meets. But I didn't have a lot of questions from my students, and they would just kind of come on and we would chat for, a little while, and it was nice to see them and catch up with them. But after doing that twice a week, I was trying to come up with some engaging activities. I didn't want to teach during those Google Meets because I have 170 students and I was getting maybe 15 kids at a time on Google Meets. So I didn't want to teach something. And I was trying to come up with different activities and different things that were maybe engaging for high schoolers, but I was having a hard time finding things. So that's definitely kind of on my list of things that I want to improve on. I've seen elementary and middle school kids doing, show and tell on their Google Meets and a scavenger hunt and just different games that I don't think my high schoolers would really be into. So that's definitely my next goal as far as virtual learning goes. I know if this kind of continues on or we see this happen again, that's something that I want to work on for me. So if anybody has ideas, let me know, because I'm definitely looking for some kind of game or activity, something exciting for them to kind of do on Google Meets as well.